Welcome to Winning Inside, the show where we follow the journey from feeling defeated to winning. Here are your hosts, Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman.
Hello, amazing people. Welcome to the Winning Inside podcast, where we discuss real issues, insights, and solutions to help you thrive in your day-to-day lives.
We know life happens, and we can choose to be a spectator or a participant.
Hey, Cheddy.
Michelle, how are you?
So good. So good. Okay. I want to get right into it because I don't want to procrastinate anymore.
Nice. Because we have been all about some procrastination today. So do tell.
100%. An hour's worth of procrastination. And that's okay because we're here now.
Yes.
And as soon as Cheddy said this phrase, I said, explain to me what that means. And then I realized that's it. So share with our listeners, what is procrastination on ice and where did it come from?
Yeah. So I'm really fortunate. I have like a few different coaches because coaches have coaches, right? So I've got Rachel Krinsky, my executive coach. I've got Michelle Wickman, my coach, the coach of all coaches. I've got Kristen Simpson, my business coach for all the things I do in coaching, my practice. And I have Venice Flygirl Armour, the baddest of the baddest, as my speaking coach. So yesterday I was talking to her. We were on a Zoom call. And I don't know, she asked me a question. I gave her an answer. I knew it was lame. She knew it was lame. And she says, procrastination on ice, ignorance on fire. And my jaw dropped. I was like, well, she just called me out. And it was the nicest way to be called out too. But I was so exposed. I was like, yep. You're right. She said it again. And I was just like, yeah, she's right. She just totally looked at what I said and said, that's procrastination. Because I was giving all these reasons why I had to do this and I got to do that. And she just shot through that so quick, like hot knife in butter, done. Didn't even faze her. So yeah, procrastination on ice. Just, you get stuck in a certain place and you just find all these reasons not to do the thing. And no matter what I was saying, all the justifications I gave for my procrastination sounded good to me. But at the end of the day, it produced no fruit and it had no result. Call it what you want to call it. I was busy. I was studying. I was this. I was that. The dog ate it. It was procrastination. And if I was still on step one of the ladder, rung one, guess what? It's procrastination.
Absolutely. And I love how you said, no matter how good it sounded to me, because our brains are telling us that that's a fact, that is the truth, that I do not have time for whatever it is that you wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right. And yet we also understand that that is giving ourselves an out from the discomfort of actually taking action on the thing, on the goal that we want. And I know we've touched on goals before, but this concept of procrastination, it's like we're saying, I still want to do it and I'm still going to do it. And I just have to wait a little bit longer.
Yes. See, I like how you said it because you say, and just so nice to yourself. I say, but I totally negate whatever I said before that. So I want to do it. I'm still going to do it. I have the intention of doing it, but I got to study for this thing. I've got to get this thing done. I've got to go here. I've got to do this. I've got to pay for this. I've got to buy this. And I find all these I've gotters that I really just made up. Yeah, they still exist, but I can do those things in spite of the goal. It doesn't have to be an objection for the goal, but I end up stopping what I'm doing for these fabricated synthetic things that I make up as obstacles. It's almost like hurdling and putting the hurdle in front of you as you're running. Like you put the hurdle out in front of you. I'm fabricating my own objections.
Well, but you say fabricating, and I think it's like, it's interesting because they're real. Like they are, like you really do have to study and you really do have to pay this bill and you really do have to do these things. And this is where the and comes into play, right? Yeah. It's like you see somebody's hurdle or a hurdle that's just on the sideline and you're like, let me just drag it in front of me real quick, yes. Right? Because we're putting the hurdles, we're putting the obstacles in the way. And yes, we're using the metaphor of running a hurdling race again. And that's okay, because I think the visual makes sense. It's like, you have a certain number of hurdles that you know are there anyway, but it's like you're going out of your way to find the extra hurdles the extra obstacles to put directly in front of you as you're moving towards this goal. And so rather than understanding that, hey, naturally we're going to have obstacles, like that is the process of goal pursuit, is to learn how to overcome these obstacles. But what Cheddy's expressing in this example is that he's finding extra obstacles going out of his way. His brain is, right? His brain's going out of its way to like go pull in these extra obstacles, which as his mentor was sharing, like, hey, that's just a procrastination. You're still maybe kind of looking towards your goal, but you're taking so much of your time and energy to put the extra obstacles in the way before you can actually take the steps towards that goal.
Oh, yes. Let's call it this. I'm ready to make this bold step and say procrastination is a nice way of calling it self-sabotage. Procrastination is a nice word for self-sabotage because that's what it's doing. It's impeding you from finding the goal and accomplishing it. You know, I know what the goal is and I had to get to the goal, and I'm finding potholes and reasons to make that hard. It's hard enough by itself. Why do I need to make it harder? Why?
Yeah. Well, and I love her procrastination on ice because you think about ice, right? And again, like as an athlete, as a former athlete, I get it. You throw ice on it, right? If there's pain, you're going to throw some ice on it. You're going to try to dull it down. You're going to try to numb it, right? And ice just slows things up. Yeah. So procrastinate, you're icing your own dreams. You're like throwing that on ice and just like saving it for later. Like, no, why do we do that, right? Why is it that we want to slow down and maybe look at things at all angles? It's like, okay, take your time to assess. I get that too. But how long do you need to do this thing? How many obstacles do you need to put in the way? Because at the end of the day, we're just icing it. We're just slowing everything down. Yeah.
And you know, it's beautiful how, let's just say my coach is on the sidelines like a coach would be. She saw it immediately, looked at it and was like, yep, that's what you're doing. And sometimes we can, if we take a step back, if you take a step back right now as a listener, can you think of areas in your life right now where if you're being objective and you're being honest, are you adding hurdles in your life? Are you finding reasons to procrastinate? Are you doing things that are stopping you from reaching your goal? And if you are, what do you do about it? What do you do about it? It's something to think about because I think we all do it. And heck, I teach people this stuff and I still do it. Hey, I'm human. It's part of the journey. But once I identify it, it's my responsibility now to fix it in that space. So what am I doing today? Fixing it. I texted her this morning, said, hey, fix this thing, did it, done. Off the bat, to combat the objections I was giving myself.
Yeah, I love that. And action at the end of the day, it's action that builds momentum, that builds confidence, that builds like visibility into what's possible, right? Because we can get so hyper fixated on all the obstacles instead of, as you mentioned, a coach sees their client from the sidelines, right? So they can see the big picture of what the client's describing is in front of them as obstacles. We can actually see it for what it is. It's an obstacle, right? But it's an obstacle that rather than saying like, yeah, let's make a plan for getting over that obstacle, you're like, well, let me go find 5 other obstacles to put in the way. And I love that she called you out on it. Oh, yeah. And I love that it just made your brain just go, right? And just explode because that's the purpose of it, is to open up our visibility for what's really happening in our lives.
Yes.
And coaches are funny because a lot of times you go about it in a very passive, I don't want to say passive way, but like we allow the client through asking questions to discover it. Sometimes coaches and mentors in particular can just be like, I call BS.
Yes.
And you're just like, that's what I needed. That's exactly what I needed.
Oh, she gave me a full dose, a huge cup of reality, but it was good. And it came from a mentorship perspective. It came with full love and it came just as strong as I needed it. I think anything softer wouldn't have worked for me. And when she hit me in my face with that, I was like, whoa, hello. But guess what? Less than 12 hours later, I changed my behavior. I am so many more steps ahead today than I was last night. That's mind-boggling to me. And that, people, is the power of a coach. From one coach to another. Thank you, Venice, Fly Girl Armor. But from one coach to another, Michelle, how many times have you done that for me? Hopefully I've done it for you once or twice, but how many times have you done that for me? Yeah, Michelle is very proficient at punching me in the face verbally. In a good way, though. In a good way. And I always say
sometimes, yeah, there is the element of, and I love when you say punch me in the face, because I totally had that experience this last week and sharing about it later. That being said, that is exactly what it feels like when you have those aha moments where you're just like, oh my God.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So I love this idea and procrastination on ice. You just like immediately, I feel like you just get it, right? Yeah. You're just icing it. You're slowing everything down. Stop slowing yourself down.
Yeah.
Right? Stop looking for the obstacles. The obstacles will present themselves as you move forward, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Having faith and belief that you can overcome those obstacles is part of this process, growing that faith and growing that belief so that whenever the next obstacle presents itself, you can then assess and overcome it as well. If we stay at the starting line and we wait to see if we can analyze every single obstacle that's ahead of us, instead of just focusing on the immediate obstacle in front of us, then we're going to take so much more time or never even get started, because now we're just coming up with all the what ifs this happened and what if that happens versus like, I see the obstacle that's immediately in my path. Let me move towards that and let me figure out a plan to get over it.
Yeah. I've heard people who have come back with the objection, well, I'm a planner. I got a plan for the what ifs. I'm like, yeah, absolutely right. You do. However, in the midst of you planning for the what ifs, you should still be going forward. You should still be doing this, taking the steps, taking the journey. You should still be doing the thing, the business of doing the thing, whatever that thing is. And if you're just planning and thinking and not moving forward, not advancing, that's all day, every day procrastination. If, however, you're taking a step and you're just planning about the future, hey, two things are going to happen. That future may occur or it may not occur, but you're still moving forward. And what I noticed, what I didn't notice until Venice kind of showcased it, is that I was planning and what ifing and thinking of things and projecting things and planning for things, but I wasn't taking the step. All of those activities are great, but you've got to still have forward progression, forward momentum, motion. You've got to still get the thing to where it needs to go. And that requires effort, taking the next step. So whatever that step is for you, take the next step.
Absolutely. I think that idea of planning for what ifs, here's one thing. How much time are you investing in planning for what ifs or just planning for obstacles versus how much time are you taking action towards that goal? Gauge that, because I guarantee the people who feel stuck in their lives are focusing on the obstacles and planning for the what ifs and planning for what could happen, like chess, 10 moves ahead versus just literally just focusing on what's right in front of you. Yeah. What's the next smallest action, and just take that, right? Make sure that balance of power is more in the action versus the at planning for all the potential obstacles and problems that may arise.
And I'm always going to be the person who's throwing out the objections. I can hear someone saying, but I don't want to throw caution to the wind. You're not. But what you are throwing to the wind is action. You're throwing action to the wind. So you've got to do the doing. You've got to be in the business of doing the do. And a lot of times we don't do that. And we find reasons why not to do it. But if you dig deep and ask yourself a few questions, you might start to realize there's a reason for this. And one thing about procrastination, to me, it's very closely related to fear. A fear of failure, a fear of not getting it right, a fear of doing it wrong, a fear of messing something up, whatever it may be. And fear is such an disabling emotion that it doesn't progress you. That's one thing about fear. However it comes, it usually keeps you still. You're not doing the thing. You're not progressing. It's like petrification. You're just frozen in time, just frozen, and you're not moving. That's what happens to our goals. But if you can take those steps, how's that going to better your life? How's that going to accomplish you as far as accomplishing the things in your life that you wanted to get? You got to focus on those things because you need those things in your life. You need them. People are waiting for you to accomplish a certain thing so you can benefit them the way they need to be benefited, or your family, or you, whatever it is. There's a reason why you have a goal. And a lot of times the planning and the procrastination is impeding that goal. It is not in your favor. Just start.
100%. And you said it's closely related to fear. It is fear.
I was trying to be subtle.
No, you gotta be in the face. Like it's is fear.
Yeah.
And you nailed it in terms of like perfectionism, in terms of, wanting to get things right, in terms of fearing that you might miss out on something had you gone the other way, had you been prepared, had you done this action in first before you actually move forward, which is this action being planning more, preparing more. But ultimately, what we're really afraid of is a negative emotion. Yeah. Because with failure is what? What do you get when you fail, right? Oh. A lot of times it's just a negative emotion. And if that's the worst thing that we have to contend with, then we can just practice that now, right? We're sitting in it now when we're planning for all of the obstacles and failures that might arise on your pursuit of these goals. Yeah. You're practicing that negative emotion now, not taking the action.
Yeah. Living through the hell twice. Potentially twice. I mean, you may not even live through the hell. So you're fabricating something that may not even occur. But we don't like to think about it that way. But when you worry, it's almost like going through that thing twice. What if I get a flat tire? Yeah, but what if you don't? So you're worrying about the flat tire. But if you don't get a flat tire, you worried about it for no reason. So we have to really manage the amount of emotional energy we put into the planning and the worrying and the thinking and the what ifing, because you've got to think about it a little bit, but it cannot be the preponderance of your thoughts. It can't. It just can't. So just food for thought. And I really want you to think about that in your life. Really focus on how this applies to you. But then also, what can you do about it? What can you do to get out of this rut? What are some things you can do, Michelle? I'm just asking off the cuff. What kind of things can you do to kind of get out of this state of procrastination on ice? How do you melt that ice?
So one of the things that I do is if it's for something in particular where this is movement and action towards my big goal, right? I will actually take actions towards another smaller goal that has nothing to do with that big goal because it's not as emotionally charged. So, for example, if I have a big goal towards my business, right? And one of the first major obstacles is that, or goals or milestones is that I need to sign up for this program or I need to put my website together, whatever it is, I'll actually take small steps towards another goal, which is to reestablish, my fitness routine or to take my dog for a walk every single day. And those small steps towards another goal helps me to feel more confident, more alive, more settled, more just present in my day-to-day life so that when I start taking these other steps towards a goal that's more emotionally charged, it doesn't feel as emotionally charged anymore.
Yeah.
So that's one way. Another way is to recognize the emotion for what it is and process the hell out of that emotion.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's saying like, oh, I feel fear. I'm feeling it. I'm just like, this isn't, all the ruminating thoughts. This isn't going to work. What if this happens? What if I do this and then this happens and I'm not prepared for that? I feel that like a knot in my gut.
Yeah.
And so then I just take a couple minutes to just focus on what that knot is, where it is. If I associated a color or a temperature to it, how could I do that? That's part of processing emotion in your body to help it to dissipate so that it doesn't feel as intense when you are taking actions towards that goal. So that's number 2. Number 3 would be just to simply question, is that true? So our brains are going to give us all kinds of scary scenarios, right? We're like, our brains are super creative. We are the most creative beings in the world. And I don't care if you don't think you're creative. Trust me, your brain is. Yeah. We can come up with all kinds of crazy scenarios. So then you just say, is that true? What is that really going to happen? What is the possibility that that's really going to happen?
Yeah.
And yet I've just spent the last 20 minutes thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it that I really want right now? So is it true? And then take action towards what it is that you want.
Yeah. And, to add to what you said, I remember last week you were talking about things that don't kind of complement your goal, getting rid of that stuff. I think a lot of the things we worry about are noise. And if we can get rid of them, we can see the goal more clearly. And I think it's just interesting how that aligns with what you said last week. It's just, I love the alignment there. But I would love to really find out early, just get skilled at seeing this before it happens. So that as soon as I start getting into that procrastination mode, that perfectionism mode, that delay tactic, seeing it for what it is, dealing with it and keep it moving. Because in some areas of my life, I think I'm very good at it. But in other areas of your life, it's a little more sneaky. But if I can see it, identify it, process it, work around it, I can go a lot quicker. And one of the things that I've done this week is in this weekend and last week, I decided to do things that weren't perfect. Just do them. Just get it out there messy, get it out there quick, just get it out there. And what I realized is, guess what? I put something out and it was messy, but it got fixed. People saw it and said, hey, there's a mistake. Oh, okay, I'll fix it. And what I realized is it would have still been sitting, being prepared, but now it's out there, it's active and it's doing its thing. And it wasn't right. I had to tighten some things up. But it was out there. It was already out there. And I learned to fix it because it was out there. All the things I was trying to do to make it perfect couldn't have happened if it wasn't on the street. So that was a learning lesson for me. Just do it. And you've heard us say it before, screw it and do it. Sometimes you just got to just do it. Take a breath, I believe, and just go. And that helped. That helped me. Just jump off the platform. Just jump off the deep edge.
Yeah.
And I did that. And it was scary until it wasn't. It was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Guess what? Yeah. I'm still here. That's the funny part is you realize like, I'm still here. Oh, okay. The sky didn't fall. Great. Let me do it again. And I'm going to capitalize on
Let me do it again. I love that. It's like, oh, wait, I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. That was uncomfortable. I still feel awkward about it. And I feel a little bit nauseous, but I'm still alive. So let's just do it again.
Do it again.
See what happens.
Yep.
It's totally that high dive. Like if you've ever been on a platform before, it's like insane, first of all. And I am not one for heights, but your knees feel weak, whatever, all of those things. And then when you jump off, it's a feeling that's joyful and alive and still fearful at the same time.
Yeah.
And immediately you think, should I do that again? Like I could do that again. Right. It's just that when you are taking those scary steps, when you are taking those scary actions towards goals, towards things that you love, that you desire in your life. It is that exhilarating and scary feeling all in one package. Mm-hmm. And then you get to assess, do I want to do that again?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how you prepare yourself for the next obstacle, for the next step. It's like, I am ready now, or I need to go back, reset, maybe rest a little bit and then take action, but I know I can do it and I'm still alive.
I love the whole I'm still alive.
No more procrastinating.
No more. Let it go. This is not the age of procrastination. This is the age of action. So let's get it done. Handle your business. Find out where you are procrastinating or looking for perfection and keep it moving. Do it anyway. And that's all I have. But if you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, share, follow, and most importantly, use whatever adds value to your amazing life.
And remember, even if life puts barriers in our way, we are still moving forward. Don't put barriers in your own way. Sign in again for a new episode of Winning Inside.
Thank you for listening to Winning Inside with Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman. If you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to click the follow button, rate and review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcast. You can connect with Cheddy and Michelle at winninginside.io. Keep listening. Another episode is coming soon.